Huh?
To what, Adderall?
Yes.
You got him, huh?
Yeah, my brother gave them to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. With my anxiety, though, I'm too.
All right. And we are live with the Blame Girl podcast with
Mr. Terry Wayne.
And we got Franco Harris up in the house. What's up, Franco?
Good. How we doing?
We good. It's good to be back, y'all. Sorry, we've been out for a little while. We had, a holiday weekend last weekend. I was out of town for 2 weekends, and
I'm just blaming it on the right. I'm blaming it on the writer's strike.
Yeah, we're having a hard time finding guests. Maybe let's be honest. So, I didn't realize we hadn't had Franco on the show. I thought he had.
I could have sworn we did. But
it always feels like we've had everybody on. But Franco, since this is your first time, how was your weekend? What did you do this weekend?
This weekend I got hammered in downtown Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
And I went to a couple nightclubs, and I felt really old.
I had that experience recently myself. There's only one club in the town I live in now, and we went one night with my sister because she had never been there before. And you know how they put an X on your hand if you're under 21 but over 18, and it was like 60% of the whole place had X's on their hand, and I'm like, oh, we need to get out of here, man.
We need to go.
I'm gonna get put on a list or something. Like I gotta. Well, like
I gotta get out of here.
I know I got a reputation for dating young, but this is too young. I gotta get out of here.
Eyes down. Eyes down at your drink.
Yeah, and they were all in tight little booty shorts and shit. I was like, I gotta go. Thankfully, the wife is cool, so I don't have to worry about that.
This was there? This was in Tennessee?
Yeah, it was like a boot scooting boogie line dancing club. But it was like apparently a bunch of 18 to 20-year-olds dancing around in Daisy Dukes. So it's like I got to go. This is giving me feelings that that I'm not comfortable with.
That you're ashamed of having.
Yes, I am ashamed of having.
So that was your weekend, huh?
Yeah, that was.
Oh, okay. My weekend, I didn't really do much either. I really don't know what I did this weekend. Oh, I went down to a show on Friday. Brett Morris's show at help me out. Jesse's Extreme Sports Bar.
Probably that sounds about right.
I love that place. Loved it.
I've never been.
I did.
Oh yeah.
He had me come down. I headlined there a couple of years ago, and this was probably, I don't know, 2021, maybe 2020, something like that. And he had me I ended up doing like an hour 15 just because the crowd was so into it.
Oh wow.
And then they treated me like a little,
I remember that. I remember you telling me about that.
And the waitress.
You got a blowjob, right?
Yeah, from the waitress. Yeah.
Yeah.
The waitress.
I wasn't there. The waitress
got after
it. I feel like we performed there together when we were doing the tour, but that's all I did. I had a low key weekend because I've been out. I've been out of town. I've been went to Texas. I had a writer's retreat last weekend, so I've been I just had a low key weekend this weekend. I wanted to go out last night to the red light for Drew's birthday, but I didn't. So.
You didn't hear? You're supposed to be on strike with the writing.
Well, it's my own writing. No, I didn't hear. I did hear. That's not us, right? That's just people who are writing for like Netflix.
That's anybody's in the Writers Guild of America.
Yeah,
I'm not in that, so.
That's like it's a union essentially for writers.
I'm not a part of that union yet, so I am not striking. So
I am.
Anyway.
Go ahead.
No, I won't make the obvious joke.
Yeah. Well, not for the comedy, for the book, but.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. All right. So we have missed a lot because we've been gone for like 3 weeks, guys. During that 3 weeks, we narrowly avoided economic collapse. Once again, who's to blame? What do you think? Is this all posturing every time or?
Yes, and that's why I included it in the topics, just because I'm so frustrated with both Democrats and Republicans, because every single couple of years, when this comes back up and the debt ceiling comes back up, they just sit there and they posture and they fight back and forth. Meanwhile, there's hundreds of thousands of government employees where it's like their paychecks are on the line, so these guys can fuck around back and forth.
And they give us heart attacks. Franco, what do you think about this?
I think America can't pay its bills. That's what I think is happening, and it happens every year. Every year, America's like, we can't afford this, and I think that's kind of ridiculous. And then obviously, the like right now, reading the article that you sent me from the Hill. Right now, there's going to be another vote on October 1st because they only raised it enough to get us through like the next 4 months, 5 months, the next couple quarters, basically get us through the summer and a little bit into fall.
Well, what the next vote they're talking about, they've already agreed on this. They've already agreed on the amount, but it's the allocation. This is the big fight that happens every single time. It's not about what money we're spending. It's about how we're spending it. Like, for instance, the Trump's presidency, he spent $4 trillion. He increased the deficit by $4 trillion. But Democrats weren't mad about that. They weren't mad about the number. They were mad about how he spent it. He spent it in tax cuts as opposed to infrastructure, which was the big thing. So it always comes down to.
But I think it's interesting how like he ran up that shit, right? And then they act like they don't want to pay for it when they put him in office, and they do it every time. It doesn't matter what Republican or Democrats in office. They act like they want to be fiscally conservative all of a sudden when the reason we're in this, we had kind of balanced our budget.
And we totally could. We could balance our budget tomorrow. We could balance our budget tomorrow. The fact of the matter is, and I know nobody likes to hear this, but we spend way too much on national defense, almost $1 trillion every year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. We spend more than if you took the next 10 countries behind us on military spending and put them all together, we spend more than that. And 8 of those countries are our own allies. So we don't need to spend this much. This is just money being pushed into Lockheed Martin.
It's a way to avoid socialism. It's a way to avoid supporting their citizens. It is a way to avoid socialism. Yeah,
no, it isn't. It's theft.
Because yes, it is. They could be spending that money on social programs. We could have free college.
That's not they don't give that money to the national defense contractors to avoid socialism. They do it because we're getting robbed. We're getting robbed by Lockheed Martin. We're getting robbed by Lockheed Martin and Boeing and all of the major 4. I can't remember the other 2, but the other major 4 national defense contractors.
I don't disagree.
There was just a scandal about how they've been overcharging us by billions of dollars every year.
Listen, I don't even disagree with where the money's going. I agree with that. I'm just saying where the money should go is socialism. If it goes to education, if it goes to fucking healthcare, that's socialism. So that's where we should be spending the money. My point is.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. Let's put it this way. If we skipped 1 year of national defense spending, 1 year, just 1 year, every child under the age of 18 in this country could go to college for free. 1 year. That's all it would take.
You think that would hurt us at all, Franco?
Uh, no, as a nation, no, wouldn't hurt us to spend $1 trillion on putting people in college. College shouldn't cost money to go to, especially if you just want to
But would it hurt us if we cut it from our
Why you
military
keep
budget?
interrupting when people are talking? You do it to me, you're doing it to Franco. Come on. What were you saying, Franco?
I think we're all doing great. This is why
Carrie
America
normally is the interrupter. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I've gotten better. So
yeah, I think ultimately, do we think that like okay, at the end of the day, like your argument is that Terry, is that we should not be spending $1 trillion on a defense budget. You know what I'm saying? To make a little joke, you know, did they charge like $30,000 for a toilet? I think
yes.
what was one of the things that like I read.
It was 20,000, but yes, you're right.
Yeah,
$10,000 for a hammer. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they have to make up for these black projects that have no accountability.
Mm.
And I think that's where, when it comes to the defense budget, I think that's where a lot of our money goes, where we're hiding, like we can't go and audit these black budgets, where a lot of this money to these defense.
They just did.
No, but I remember like a few years ago, they're like, you can't come ask us questions about how we spend our money. This is a private company, and also we have a bunch of information that the rest of the world like doesn't know we have, technologies and stuff like that, and we're working on that. So there was like this little ebb and, you know, like they were fighting over this, you know, for like a long time, for them to be like, where's this money going? Because you keep asking us for money. Where's this going? Oh, it's for our defense. That's good. Right? In theory, yeah, that's good.
No,
you know,
the difference
theory,
is with these. Let me just stop you right there. The difference is with these, back in like 1990, for instance, in 1990, there was about 18 defense contractors. And then they decided as an industry, why would we compete with each other when we could just merge? Now there's 4. Now we only have 4. We used to have like 18. Now we have 4. So there's no competition anymore. They don't undercut each other's prices because the government has a policy that they always go with the lowest bidder. So they used to undercut each other continuously for different projects. You know, Boeing wants to build a jet for the Army or the Air Force. Okay, they have to bid lower than, you know, the other 17 companies. Now they don't have to do anything. They just make up the prices as they go along.
I agree, but I think that's most government. Like, look at our healthcare system. You know, like, you know, something that costs $50 in another country costs $1,000 to $5,000. You know, for like the same test. Yeah, but it's like no, it's a whole different conversation. But like, I think a lot of the times when you're dealing with government contracts and stuff like that, yeah, but we're overinflating prices and stuff like that. Like,
the
someone's got to make money.
Industry, the healthcare industry is that's insurance companies that did that. Correct. Because hospitals had to charge $1,000 so that they could get $100 because they negotiate with and then you come along as a person without insurance and they say, well, the price is $1,000 and you don't know that you can negotiate them down to a reasonable price. That's the problem.
Correct. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that too, that like if you have a medical bill and they're like, you owe us $30,000 and you're like, how about 1,000? They're like, all right, when can you send the money? You know what I mean? Like, usually, like, then, it's not that crazy, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's like,
and then you know, the U.S. government enters the chat, and then the bill's automatically negotiated down. Nobody have to negotiate. It's $100 period.
Yeah,
single payer.
Yes.
I think ultimately, like, for instance, I'm from a third world country. I'm from Honduras. You know how much Honduras gets in aid from the United States government every single year? $150 million. Now,
that's not a lot.
It's not a lot of money, but you're doing this all over the world and just throwing money and being like, it's so you're on our side. You know what I mean? It's so
Yeah,
you're on
they're
their
called-
side.
But
Relax.
the
Yeah,
thing
they're
is,
called allies.
the
Yeah.
thing is, sometimes you have to spend money and make things better in a society so it doesn't have so much violence and just violence, really.
$150 million ain't changing anything. You know, when you
It's
think
changed
about
a
it,
little
when you think
something.
about
When
you think about a whole country, it's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket.
Well, Honduras is the third poorest country in the northern hemisphere. First, it's Haiti. Second, it's Bolivia. We need that $150 million. We need anything
That's
we
what I'm
can
saying.
get.
It probably
You know what I mean?
it probably gave them some sort of food. Maybe it ain't gonna fund their whole military or send all the kids to college, but it helps.
Most of the countries that are on the poorer side, it's not because they don't have enough money. It's because their leadership is corrupt. That's what happened. We've given billions of dollars to Haiti, and they're still the poorest country in the world. And it's not because they didn't get enough money. It's because the people in power took it.
So hold on. Let's get back to answering
kind of like
question.
our government contractors.
Yep, that's why. It's more expensive to go to war with them over stealing the money than it would be just to give them more. That's the government mentality. Why would cost us. Well, because we could say we can give them $2 billion more, or we can spend $100 billion to go to war with them. It's just math. It's mathematics. It's like Mos Def said.
Well, like that's where I was going to come to when it comes to this. Guy told me this years ago. He told me this. He's like, when it comes to politics and the truth, he goes, the figures don't lie, liars figure. What does that mean? Yeah. If you follow the money, you will always find the truth. Yeah. You know, and it's like when you read like in the news that like, you know, the left and the right are fighting over this debt ceiling and stuff like that. It's like, listen, they all go to dinner in the same restaurants in Washington, D.C. as everybody else. You know, I think, did we lose Terry?
I don't know what happened with Terry. He must be looking up something on his phone, or he uses his phone for Zoom. So
because the camera's better. The camera's better on the phone than the computer.
Yeah, but you can't do much with them.
At the end, like at the end of the day, is that these two sides, right? These two sides, they're sitting there arguing, and they both want things in this bill. Like the Republicans, like if you read the article on the Hill, it says the Republicans were thinking, we're not managing how we're spending this money, and the Democrats are like, let's slide this in, and we're going to do this program because it's going to benefit the nation, it's going to benefit the people, you know. And that's been the old age argument. But at the end of the day, they're getting money to make sure that this little thing goes through in that signing of that bill, you know. And it's like at the end of the day, it's like, what are we really fighting for? You know, are they really fighting, or are they fighting for, you know, interests that are not of the American people, but of corporations or, you know, super PACs and all this stuff, you know? And like, I think that's what's disheartening, that the people are saying here, the American people are like paraded. And it's like, oh, we're going to fuck with you guys. And like, see, just so we can pass this little thing. And I think that's the most disheartening thing of this whole debt ceiling thing. Is that
if you want to build a strong country, you only need two things: universal healthcare and universal education. If you've got a healthy, well-educated populace, you will be a stronger country. Germany proved that, because we bombed the hell out of that thing, basically flattened that country, you know, in the 1940s. And now, 80 years later, they're the number one country in Europe. They're the most profitable. They lead the UN.
But I don't know that it's just the education and the healthcare. They get a little bit extra. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like our violence here in America would go down if we could just get rid of the Republicans' grip on the country, making them feel like a little bit of socialism is bad. It's really not. It makes the country a better place. But you know what doesn't make the country a better place?
What's that?
Incels.
I love this article, by the way. This is my
favorite.
That
article
is my favorite of the
week. Let me get in here. Incels have somehow convinced themselves that having sex with women is gay. And I don't mean figuratively, I mean literally. Who's super gay?
Hey, look. I mean, it depends on what entrance you go into, I guess. I don't know.
Is having sex with men also gay?
I think to somebody who's not getting laid, any sex is gay just because they're frustrated that they're not getting laid.
That's what he said. He goes, all sex is gay. And I'm like, wait, hold on.
It's because you're not having it. That's why it's gay.
You're not having it, and it's weird and it's odd.
And then the article, I'm sorry, Franco, the article I thought also was funny that they were like, the incels got mad at him after he revealed that he had kissed a girl in high school. They're like, you're voluntarily celibate. Bitch, y'all all are. Y'all all are, because y'all will not sleep with the other women incels that want to sleep with y'all. The pick-me's, y'all leave them to the side. Even incels have pick-me's.
Oh, I thought it was one of the oddest things I've ever read. Because he couldn't, like, at the end when they're quoting him, he's like, whatever. Like, it's basically, I feel like he just went, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I'm asexual. You know what I mean? Like, and like, I thought it was just, we're getting to a point where, like, you start to eat yourself if you lean too hard towards anything. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be 100% anything because you're gonna miss something, on the other end, and I think
the purest line of thinking.
The human experience has range. It has range, the human experience, So to sit here and say that you're just, I'm all sex is gay, it's like, well, all right, I like my asshole licked.
Yeah.
By a girl.
Well, who does?
It's not. Yeah. By a woman, it doesn't mean I want to get fucked by a guy. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if it's gay.
If you don't even see who's licking it, how do you know you don't like it if a man do it?
Well,
I think it'd be weird if I felt a beard down there.
He's got a real rough chin on him.
But I feel like, whoa, what the fuck?
When it comes to the incels, it's pretty clear. It's FOMO. It's the fear of missing out. They know they're missing something. They know they're missing out on a big part of life. And instead of just handling that reasonably, they are lashing out at everybody else who has the thing that they want to have. That's it. It's just pure jealousy. It's envy and it's FOMO. Because I know people. I'll tell you a quick piece right here. My niece is 22. She just got married 2 months ago, right? I was at her wedding. She waited till marriage because she's religious and that was her choice. I told her she was an idiot, but
definitely
she was voluntarily.
No shade to your niece.
No shade. She was voluntarily celibate because of her religious beliefs. But the incels are just that. They're involuntarily celibate. So they feel like this is something that's being done to them. So whenever something's done to you, you want to fight back. The next thing you know, even having straight sex is gay.
I just realized the solution.
The dumbest thing.
You went too far.
Yes, exactly.
No, I've got the solution to incels. If they're all virgins,
prostitution,
right? Just become Christians. Someone will fuck you, but you got to marry them.
There's as a lifelong pastor's son, I can tell you there is so much sex in the church. Oh my God, there's so much sex in the church. You would not believe.
Yes, with young boys, we know.
Even when I was 16 and I lost my virginity to an 18-year-old girl from the church, we literally went and prayed for forgiveness for what we were about to do. We prayed for forgiveness.
Nigga, don't do it. Like, don't do it. What do you?
We prayed for forgiveness for the
no.
sex that we were gonna have a couple hours
We're
later.
about to have.
We're
That's some
gonna go
wild-
fuck. We're
That's
gonna
some
go
Christian
fuck.
shit. That
Please
really
forgive
is.
us. Yeah.
You know what's
Yeah, I
funny
guess-
about
This is
about
actually
being
going to tie in pretty well to the words for white people. Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel that the like for like the incels, like what has brought them to exist and have a voice?
I read it.
The internet.
Oh, no,
4chan.
Okay, all right,
4chan.
4chan.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. 4chan. Reddit is a little bit more moderated.
Reddit too. Yeah.
Reddit's a big
Yeah,
one.
but
Yeah.
I think they made Reddit get more moderated because Reddit don't put up with everybody's shit. You know what I'm saying? Reddit will be like, they'll take you down. I'm on Reddit a lot. They'll take you down. It's 4chan.
Hey, listen.
It was 4chan.
Listen. Skinheads, the
they
KKK.
found a safe space.
Skinheads, the KKK, neo-Nazis. The problem is the anger, and all they need is a tool to collectively come together with their anger. That's it. And it might be 4chan one day, it might be Reddit the next day, it might be Facebook, it might, it doesn't matter. If you can get a bunch of angry white guys together, there's no stopping what you can do. Like if you can get a bunch of angry loners, I don't mean to throw the crackers under the bus here, but they're the main ones. If you can get a bunch of angry loners, regardless of race or gender, there's really nothing you can't do. You get angry loners together and it gets nuts. And it's gonna get nuts.
I just gotta say, we got our true OG in the house.
Oh,
and
Mr. Jason's here? Okay.
Yeah, Jason's here, and he says Franco Romero, the spaghetti zombie comic. What does that mean? Does that mean anything to you, Franco?
I have no idea.
Okay, I was like, did he read that somewhere about you?
Like, I was gonna say, he's Hispanic and not Italian, right? What's with the spaghetti thing?
Well, it says Franco Romero. So
that's my real name. That's my real name.
Yeah, this is your government name.
That's my government name.
Let's move on. This story was so interesting to me. Y'all, I just have two words: Bluetooth and paralysis. Who's to blame?
This was really interesting. I enjoyed this just because we all have a friend, and I'm not going to say his name, but we all have a friend who suffers from this particular. He's a friend of the show. He's been on multiple times. Yeah,
he got me blocked on Facebook, but
well, he's been on twice, and he was a friend of the show until Geo pushed him away. But
no, he's still our friend. But he's got me blocked on Facebook. I think he's been on since he's had me blocked on Facebook.
No.
He doesn't know how to unblock. He doesn't know how to unblock.
I love
he old. He a little old.
I love when science does things for the actual good. You know what I mean? Because so much of science is just done for profit, or it's done for comfort a lot of the time. Like there was some scientist who sat in some engineers and they sat in a room together and figured out how to turn your car on with your phone. And it's like, cancer is still around. Maybe start working on that,
Oh, so, I saw the best thing for cancer today. Yo, on TikTok.
Well,
it's sound. You can kill cancer cells with sound. I don't know how accurate it is because I saw it on TikTok, but
it's probably not accurate.
Look, I'll say this: if our friend got that and he was able to walk, he would be a terrorist. He's already in the wheelchair.
He should still have the ability.
I love him to death, but
I just love to. I love to think about the fact that just by using technology and science and engineering, that we could possibly in our lifetimes end paralysis. To me, that's mind blowing. That's
Franco,
the cure for polio.
That's what Elon Musk is trying to do with. I thought it was really cool because the goal, like Elon Musk's Neuralink, it just got approved by the FDA, which is like the size of like a dime, and it gets implanted into your brain. It's gonna allow people that were blind to be able to see, and
I saw that.
and like.
Yeah.
And like what the article that you sent was more of a practical, like this works now.
Yeah.
And and like the whole goal, like Elon Musk said, is to get Neuralink to be able to get people that can't move their arm to eventually connect the neurons that were supposed to be there, connect them and make them work so that you can move your arm and you can send that signal. And but I thought that and I thought that article was like more of like this is right before that happens. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, oh, this is interesting that like this has already happened, and then eventually we'll get to where you can just implant that thing and people can see, people can hear.
Right. Let me take it a step
further, guys.
Let me take it a step further. This is a first step, Franco. It's a first step. First, you had to have the Model T, and then you had the Mustang.
Yeah,
you get the Mustang later, but you have to have the Model T.
Y'all are looking at this. Listen, y'all are looking at this all wrong. They say that AI is very dangerous. What happens when AI can control your Bluetooth legs?
They can't. That's not how this works.
I'm gonna write that down. That's a good thing.
That's not how this works.
We're a comedy podcast, okay?
There's no
new
ghost.
Conspiracy. Yes,
there's no ghosts in the machine.
No, and you're gonna be trying to kick the president before you know it.
Okay, no, like she does have a point, because right now you can use like Auto GPT and it can basically run tasks for you. Okay, so you can tell it, I want you to hack Franco's Bluetooth legs. Okay, and when you hack him, make sure that he runs backwards everywhere. Okay, and then it will find a way to execute those tasks. That's the Model T version of AI. Imagine when it's fucking can just do stuff.
Okay,
I think that's okay. Okay, there's the first technology I think is great. AI I think is terrifying but also exciting.
Well, like go on ChatGPT. Go on ChatGPT. I don't want
nobody controlling me via Bluetooth. I don't think.
Okay, well go on ChatGPT and ask it to do something illicit. I
won't even sign up for ChatGPT.
It doesn't matter. Just if you go on there and tell it to do something illicit against the user agreement, it just says, no, I can't do that. So calm down. It's not Terminator. It's not
until you tell ChatGPT to reprogram itself to be able to do whatever the fuck it wants. Then it's hacking Chris Rose.
Well, you don't have to tell it to reprogram itself because it didn't program itself to begin with.
I want to know what Jason. I knew Jason was going off on this topic. He says,
human being did that.
He said, Jason says he ain't getting no Neuralink. What happens when AI makes you think you're thinking, but it's doing the thinking for you? He wrote a whole article about the specific dangers of this. Oh, share it here on the YouTube so we can share it, Jason. No separation between machine and you. You think the machine is you. Yeah.
No, it's science fiction.
Well, here's the thing. If that's the case, Jason, what makes you think that they already say that we live in a hologram, that this is happening in
a simulation,
a simulation of a hologram? Yeah. Scientists, they've already said that like this shit might not be real. That this might be like a computer program.
The big word there is might. Might not be real. It might be real. It might not. I used to have
this really weird dream or like thought when I was young that like I was a baby in a crib and I was just visualizing my life happening. I don't know why I was doing that, but this is not real. I'm still the baby in the crib visualizing what's to come. It's so weird.
Yeah, but
I even had that thought,
that you could just as easily tie that to string theory, which is there's multiple universes and they're all tied together through, and you're tied to your other selves and blah, 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 blah. Like we're guessing.
I don't think we'll ever be able to explain it.
No, we're guessing.
You
we'll find out when we die.
I cannot explain, guys, is why a Trump judge helped us out. He shut down the drag show ban. Hallelujah. Who's to blame? A Trump judge helped us out. Where was this at, Terry?
I specifically put this down because I just moved to Tennessee. In Florida. No, it's Tennessee.
Tennessee. Yeah.
Yes, because I just moved to Tennessee and I was catching a little bit of flack over over this particular issue. And then, yes, a Trump appointed judge knocked down this and said it was unconstitutional because it was way too vague, which was basically what we've always been saying. We talked about this before on a different episode, because who's to say what is derogatory? Who's to say what is vulgar? Are we going to ban bikinis next? Because that's a sexual thing. So no bikinis on the beaches and the lakes and the
with all their bans, they got the Bible banned in South Carolina or somewhere like that. So
no, I'm getting to that. Yeah, leave that alone. I'm going to get to it in words for white people.
Okay.
That's the topic this week. But
that's where it goes. It's like all this. It's like with the incels. Like you end up doing you do it too much. You end up on the other side calling heterosexual sex gay. Just like you end up doing so much, you end up banning the book that you're trying to ban all this other shit based off of. So
all right, well, but getting back to the actual law, he called it, the actual judge called it blatantly unconstitutional, because again, and I'm trying to remember the exact example he cited, was to say that if a woman kissed a man in public, that could be construed as a sexual act. So then next thing you know, you can't kiss your wife or your husband in public because that's a sexual act, So he declined it.
We live in like it's 1984.
Exactly. But it goes back to the same thing. It's just way too, when you make laws, you have to make them, look, as a society, we can only walk as fast as our slowest person, right? That's just the way the law works. So you have to make the law for everyone. And some people don't like public displays of affection, even if it's between a Christian married couple.
I don't want to see none of your shit, so ban it all. I saw Dan Long.
No more weddings because no more weddings.
Dan Long and Minda Mo kissed in front of me, and I was like, "What are y'all doing?" They're married.
Well,
I didn't like it though.
Should you be able to kiss in a wedding at the end? Who knows? Now everything's up. Now everything's up for debate.
In the room.
Don't my thing is
personally, I want to see it all. So fucking public as far as I'm. Everybody get naked and fuck. It's fine
until you have kids. Until you have kids, and then you're gonna be like, no.
No, thankfully I've waited this long to have kids, so I'll be dead by the time they become sexual creatures.
I think we're getting to a point in time over history, because history tends to repeat itself if you don't study it. And I think right now people are forgetting that 80 years ago, there was a little guy trying to take over the whole world and murder a group of people because they looked a certain way or were a certain religion.
There you go.
I think people forget. If we don't study history, we tend to forget and we end up making the same human mistakes. And a proof of that is look at the pandemic. The pandemic happened literally 100 years ago, which was the Spanish influenza, which is the current flu that exists all over the world right now. Okay, that's been the flu since you were a kid, is the Spanish influenza and different variations of it. We made the same mistakes 100 years ago that we made today. and we're more advanced as a society technically, and smarter and more educated, and we got internet. We made the same mistakes. And to me, I think we're getting to a point in history and time where we forgot how dangerous that was, and that the whole world got together and went, stop that shit. And a funny Norm Macdonald joke is that he goes, we forget that they almost did it. Like, they almost took over the whole world. One country, one, not a group of people.
No, what? tiny little country about the size of Georgia
took over the whole world. And he goes, and they were very close. And I think historically, because I love history, I go, man, are we doomed to repeat ourselves and end up like, for instance, hearing this law of a ban, and then what a lewd act is in public, and now is that holding hands? Is that kissing? This isn't Saudi Arabia. We have checks and balances here, bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just can't come through and be like, and it's getting very authoritarian with piece of shit. And I think it started with Trump. Trump gave voice to a bunch of people that fucking suck and have no education of history, of no education, period. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, a lot of ignorance.
I gotta get in here and just tell you that Jason says this dude rocks. He's been complaining about guests too. He likes you. Good job, Franco.
Well, but Franco's absolutely right. There would be no Marjorie Taylor Greene, there'd be no Matt Gaetz. Without Trump, none of these people would ever get elected. Like, he definitely, you got to give Trump credit. You got to give Trump credit on one thing, whether you love him or hate him. He has absolutely changed the system completely. Now it's not a matter. We used to do our political choices with our mind. Now we do them with our gut. We just go on that gut feeling of like.
That's very well said.
If Lauren Boebert says that we should have armed teachers, there's certain percentage of the population that goes, yeah, give those teachers guns. Thankfully they didn't have guns when I was in school, or I'd probably be dead.
Shot.
I'd have gotten killed.
Let me get in here. The only thing I would add is I think that it actually started with the Tea Party. That's when people started getting outrageous and started trending towards this place where they're like circling back to where they're like crazy, and they're making
but everybody
have sex at all, or
everybody looked.
That's where that started.
Hang on. Everybody looked at the Tea Party at that time when it first came out. I remember it very vividly. Everybody looked at the Tea Party like they were the crazy wingnuts. You know what I mean? Like, nobody took them seriously. That's how Trump got to power, is he looked at the conspiracy theorists. He looked at the Tea Party. He looked at the Don't Tread on Me crowd. He looked at the Alex Jones crowd, and he said, I'm going to take them seriously, and they're going to put me in power. And that's exactly what happened.
All right. Franco, give us your last thought on this. We need to get to know you. It's already 7:46, but this has definitely been a great conversation.
That was too. That went by fast.
What are your last thoughts on?
I think something very. I think what's happened is that. Well, I disagree about the Tea Party thing, because I think the Tea Party still had patriotism. Like, they were crazy. But they had the thing that we've lost today, which I think is, and they've destroyed it, you know, with sports, with the kneeling for, like, they made a big deal. We've become a culture war. These people are now using us, what we do, to fight their little war so that they can make money off of us while we sit here and fight. And what it's doing is that it's destroying the nation. And I'll tell you, as an immigrant to this country, I'll tell you, it's the saddest thing I've seen in the last 10 years of what's happened since Obama left as president. It's the saddest thing I've seen, because all I see is infighting. All I see, there is no common ground. You know what I mean? Like, I remember when we passed the Supreme Court law from the LGBTs to be able to get married. I remember everybody was like, yeah, cool. Like, yeah, word, they can get married. Nobody was on the news going, these, or like saying anything. Like, there were those people, but at the same time, they weren't the loudest voice in the room. Everybody was like, yeah, let them get married because they deserve it. If one of them gets sick, one of them deserves to be there in the hospital with them. You know what I'm saying? Who else is going to be there for them? You know? And it's like those little things, they deserve to stay right.
I think
we're falling apart.
I think just to sum it up, I think Franco's saying that we let the inmates run the asylum.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. All right, and we got Miguel Maldonado Jr. in the chat. He says, thanks to Trump, he's gonna be running for office. He got guts and balls. Can't wait to see it, Miguel. All right, now it's time to get to know Franco a little bit before we get out of here. Franco Harris, I usually ask people how they like to be introduced. I know that you run a show and you produce your own show, the is it Stone? I know so many tours of yours. I should have asked you before. That's my bad.
I'll explain it. I created Fresh Drunk Stoned with Matt and Tim 5 years ago, and then we broke up 3.5 years ago, 3 years ago, and I started touring my own using Fresh as Fuck, and I've been headlining for the last 3 years. Yeah, and I just started a show in Miami called High Maintenance at 4:20 p.m. Where the comedians take edibles and we all do 15-minute sets.
That's so awesome.
And,
when you're having me there.
Yeah. That's such a great.
I got my card.
That's such a great concept.
Right. So welcome to the show.
How many?
Franco.
How many milligrams?
How long?
10. I'm not trying to.
That's it. Just 10. Give him 100.
No, I'm just. I don't even smoke weed. But Franco, how long have you been a comedian?
A little over 9 years. 9.5 years.
Really?
Yeah.
How did you
I'm
get
older
started?
than you. I thought you were older than me, to be honest.
No,
how'd you get started, Franco?
I got started because I went to a friend's house, my best friend's house at the time, and I told her I wanted to be a comedian. And then she was like, all right, well, by the way, this is the worst setup to do stand-up in someone's living room with just 2 people as your audience. Okay.
That's how you did it. That's how you did it.
Listen.
That is rough.
Listen, you're telling me. In hindsight, this was a terrible idea. So she's like, all right, well, go up there in my living room while I sit here on my couch and do some stand-up. And I did what I thought was going to be funny. And then they didn't laugh for the time that I was up there. And then I sat down on the couch and my friend leaned over and she said, maybe you should try something else. and then I shed a bunch of tears. Like, I wanted to cry because I never told anybody that I wanted to do this. And then I told them, and then she shut it down. And so I was going to hang out the rest of the night. And then I went home like 10 minutes later and I went home crying. And then I went and bought the Comedy Bible by Judy Carter. And I went to my first open mic maybe like maybe 2 or 3 months after that happened. And the reason I got into stand-up was to prove her wrong, that I could do this, and I'm not going to try something.
What does she think now?
Well, that shows
now?
That shows your resolve, Franco. If you say you want to do something, that you just keep after it, no matter what. I remember I was hosting an open mic at the Improv, and I remember somebody came and asked me their opinion about their set, and they had just completely bombed, right? And I didn't know what to say, and I was just awkward and feeling weird and whatnot. So I just made a joke. I was like, well, comedy's for some people. Maybe it's not for everybody. I don't know. And apparently it scarred this person so much that they just stayed away from me. They're still in comedy today, I believe, and they just stay away from me. And I was like, dude, why would you put that pressure on somebody?
Terry Wayne got a reputation, y'all.
I'm just saying, why would you put that pressure on somebody?
Franco, what did she think after she saw you? Like, what does she think now? I'm sorry, we're way behind, so I'm trying to move it along. What does she think now? And I want to know the answer to this.
if I'm being very honest, she saw me when we first started touring. The first time we came back from Chicago 5 years ago in July, and she was like, "Oh, you're really good." Like she like I waited for her to like see her, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I wish you could see me now. So much better than when I started then." But to be honest with you, I don't think of that moment as like a catalyst, but it was like, if I don't think of what she said as something that like made me go and do it. More so, I think of it like, oh, I still did it. But it's like I don't go around thinking like, oh, I'm proving her wrong. Like I don't think that.
Well, you said you started off that way, but I mean now
Yeah.
You're so deep in it, that's not really a concern for you, it sounds like. So.
Yeah. It's not like my driving force.
I want to know, Franco, what is your favorite venue to perform at? And you cannot say
the Improvs. No A rooms.
What? No clubs?
No A rooms. No A rooms. You got to pick somewhere in South Florida that's your favorite place to perform. It doesn't have to be open. It can be open. It can be closed. You could say the Buddha.
Oh, the Funky Buddha.
I knew you were going to say the Buddha. I knew it.
I knew it. All day.
That was the place to be. People, comics today will not understand what the Buddha was.
I hate that I missed the Funky Buddha. I only knew it as Mad Robot. You will not
understand what the Buddha was. It was just the place to be.
It was our comedy store.
Yes, exactly. It was our comedy store.
And that's what I think that the scene in South Florida right now is missing, is that a lot of comics, when you do a lot of open mics where there's only comics, you get a lot of bad behaviors and habits that don't apply when they're in front of a real audience. And what the Funky Buddha gave us every single Wednesday was a live audience of 60 to 100 people every Wednesday with real audience members. Like we would sit outside and talk about who had set of the night. And like we were all honest because we would watch each other and we would be like, yo, Mike Atchison killed that shit tonight, bro. And you had to sit there and be like you had to be honest because we all saw each other. We'd be like, yo, I bombed. Like you couldn't sit there and be like, oh, killed. No. You kept your mouth shut. You're like, who had set of the night? If you bombed, you're the first one that's going to be like, Mike Atchison, just so it gets off of you. You know what I'm saying?
And there was so much freedom. There was so much freedom in it. It was a all art show. So I remember even like 2 years, two times I went up there and I did music instead of comedy just to mix it up.
That,
yeah. Oh God!
Do you remember that? Yeah. So
I remember that, dude.
It was so much freedom there.
Yeah, and it was cool. It was a fun hang. Everybody came through.
Yeah.
Where have you traveled to do comedy, Franco?
Where hasn't he?
That's a better question. Yeah. Where hasn't I've been
okay, let's phrase it like this. What's your favorite place that you've traveled to?
City-wise.
I love Denver. I love Phoenix.
I performed in Denver. Denver's so good for comedy.
Yeah, Denver's awesome. Columbus, Ohio, Virginia Beach, Pittsburgh. There's a bunch of great places. Like
I need this in my life. I need to be touring like this. Like I want to go places.
Oh, if you go to like Denver or Portland or Seattle, like those places are like, because you think like they're so liberal and they're so hyper aware that they won't be. No, those are the best comedy scenes ever. Because if you go up there and you do like an un-PC joke, they're like, oh my God, like they're all grasping their pearls. But it's such a good comedy scene. All those.
Yeah, it's a really, I'll be honest with you, like the place that sucks the most is South Florida. Like a lot, like no, that's in comparison, crazy. I've been everywhere.
Do you think it's because is it because you perform here all the time and like?
No, I'm not gonna disagree with them on this one.
I'm gonna rephrase that.
I like it better than Austin. I think it's better than LA. Like with regards to like having to.
LA's fantastic.
I'll rephrase that. It doesn't suck. It's harder. It's great if you can get good down here. It's amazing. you can work anywhere. If you can get good here, the Miami Improv, an 8 o'clock show on a Thursday or Friday, they're not there for the show. They're there to be seen at the show. And the rest of the country,
I was just talking to Jeff Quintana about this.
the rest of the country, if you're in Virginia Beach, there's the bar, the club, the Chili's, the blah, and then you go, wait, I'm gonna go to a comedy club. It's an experience to them. So a lot of the times, like you think that like the Midwest is amazing. The Columbus Funny Bone is one of my favorite
what you're
comedy
saying.
clubs.
I get what you're saying, because I think when I find myself going to rural rooms here in Florida, I'm like, I feel so much more appreciated as a comedian. You know what I mean?
One of my top five shows was right here in Tennessee. Like, just because and here's the thing. Two of my best shows were in New York. So
New York's amazing, yeah.
I think it really just matters, right? And I'm not talking about New York State. I mean, right in the city, right in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Like,
we figured.
I think, yeah, I know. But I think it's just a matter of, I think Franco's right. I think South Florida is a very tough scene but I think it makes you tougher as a comic. And then you take that toughness and you go to New York, or you go to Tennessee, or you go to Seattle, or you go to Denver, and all of a sudden you're a big fish in a small pond, like, because you had to come from Swamp Grass Willie's every Thursday, or you had, you know what I mean?
I'll give you an example.
You're going to places where people actually are listening and care about what you're saying. So
give us your example, Franco, and then I want to ask a couple more questions.
Okay, a great example of what he just said is like the difference, right? Plus Pierre is a comedian, and he came with me to Seattle and to Spokane and Tacoma, Washington. And he got off stage, and I'll never forget this. He looks at me and he goes, "The silence, it fucked me up." And I go, what do you mean? He goes, "I just heard you murdering right now." And he goes, "Nah, bro." He goes, "When I'm done doing a joke, they all get quiet and are like, all right, what's next?"
It's because they're listening.
And I go, "This is what comedy is like in the rest of the country in comparison to doing comedy in South Florida. In South Florida, you got to fight for your punchlines. You're up there like,
you're like, listen to me. Can you hear me? Like, you just got to be loud and shit. Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right,
that's because you go to other places and they're polite and they actually listen.
Yeah.
Okay, Franco, I want to know these two things. What has been your proudest or favorite moment as a comedian? And then what's been your biggest challenge as a comedian?
My proudest moment was leaving Fresh Drunk Stoned and not knowing if I can do it by myself, and doing the things that 3 people did, 1 person to do. And then being afraid every show that I ever did alone, being afraid that I wasn't going to pull it off. And then I would pull it off just like Fresh Drunk Stone, same numbers, same everything, and sometimes even better. And I would go, man, I did it again. Like I did it again. I did it by myself, and I didn't have any other help. I booked this whole thing. I did the whole thing. And like every show that I did that, because I can't seem to believe that I do what I do, and have done it the way I've done it, being 9 years in a stand-up, or 8 years in a stand-up, or 7 years in a stand-up, the way I've done it. Every show that I did for the last 3 years was one of my proudest moments ever. Every show that was a success.
That's a bold statement, man. That is a bold statement to say your proudest moment is leaving the group that you essentially started.
Does he strike you as a timid person?
Like, apparently not. No, not timid at all.
No, I don't think. I think you misunderstood that. It's not. It's not my proudest moment wasn't like leaving them or like getting kicked out. That's why I essentially got kicked out. It wasn't that. It was me being afraid. Okay. And being like, can I pull this off?
Okay.
By myself.
And you,
like, I didn't want anybody to misconstrue what you were saying. I want to clarify.
It was him conquering his fear. Okay, Franco, tell us like about you outside of comedy. Where are you from? Do you have a day job? How long you been in Florida if you're not from here? Do you have kids? Tell us about you.
No, I have no kids. I'm 35, Hispanic. I'm an anomaly. I should have like 2 kids from 2 different baby mamas, but I don't.
You should have 5. What are you talking
about? At least. And no, I've waited tables since I was like 18, on and off. It's like my longest career second to stand up. And I still do that during the day when I'm in town. I only work like 20 hours a week or 25 hours a week. I don't work a lot. But it's enough to pay my bills and be able to do shows and have enough free time. And I've lived in South Florida my whole life. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale on Davie Boulevard in 995. And
so you're not from Honduras?
No, I was born in Honduras. Yeah.
Oh,
I came here when I was like 3. And and I started that's why my first language is English. Like I speak Spanish, but my first language is English. Because that's the first thing I remember. But yeah.
Do you have any are you ready to play the blame game?
I'm ready to blame everybody. Let's go.
Drugs are a big part of doing comedy, Franco. Who's to blame?
I think that I actually thought about this before we started. That was an interesting question. Coming from somebody, Terry Wayne knew me around that time, who did a lot of cocaine while doing comedy. I think what it does is that there's something drug addicted personality people like addicted personality people are attracted to comedy. And like we get these.
You might be right, because there's a lot of people that are like sober, you know.
Well,
like,
the comedy, yes, but comedy's the same thing. You get that high on stage.
Correct. And I think after you're chasing that because you only get it for these short spurts. So like I would do cocaine to keep the high going. Like I would get off stage from the Funky Buddha and go right to the bathroom to do a bump.
I know. And, Franco offered me cocaine several times, and Franco, do you remember what I told you?
No, I don't remember exactly. No.
I said I don't want it, and you said why not? It's fun, and I said I know. I think I'll like it too much. I think I'll love it. I think I'll be the guy that ruins his life. Like that's what I'm
doing for a little bit.
You can. I'm gonna shut up. Okay, Franco.
I do think today, it attracts. Like I don't think there's a lot of druggies in the scenes today. There's not a lot of like people doing coke and partying. Like I used to go to
recovery and doing
comedy. That's what I mean. Like
It's more of
there's a lot of recovery drug addicts in
all right. Franco, do you want to promote your social media? Do you have any shows or anything else you'd like to promote?
I'm going to be starting a show at the Dania Beach Improv. And also going to probably be doing it in Miami. It's going to be called Milk Money, where the price of the ticket is the price of milk that month, and that the show is going to be. And it's going to be for it's going to be so that you can discover new comedians. And I want to start this show for comedians that are in South Florida. Because now if you want to get in with the improvs and do like a weekend or do a thing or whatever, do a feature, it's a little bit harder because a lot of them bring their own people, and a lot of the times they pick based on videos now. Like the manager send the agent a video, and then they pick who they want to open.
Yeah.
It's not the decision of any of the managers at the club. So now these opportunities to perform at these clubs has gone down less and less and less. And I think it would be awesome to give a platform and something that maybe comedians that are coming up can aspire to, where they don't have to bring 10 people. You know, they don't have to sit there and like, I'm going to haggle my friends to come. It's like, no, this is a hot show. It's been going on for months. Here it is. Just you have a spot, and you know, give you the opportunity to grow. Basically like the Funky Buddha.
Where can they find you, like follow you to find out about this upcoming show?
At Franco Harris Funny on Instagram and on social media. And I'll also be in Tacoma and Spokane, Washington on July 15th and 16th with Lando Gonzalez, who is now part of the Fresh as Fuck comedy tour. And he's gonna be my new opener. And yeah, I can't wait to get back on the road. And I'll probably be in Phoenix also and Tempe, but I'm not sure.
And don't forget, if you want to book Franco Harris for private shows or corporate gigs or whatever you want, it's Franco Harris Comedy at gmail.com.
That's correct. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me.
Sit tight, Franco. We want to listen to Terry Wayne's Words for White People.
That's white. Right. I've been waiting for this.
Know that.
We got some good Terry. Honky talk this week. We got some good honky talk this week.
Hurry it up. I gotta pee and I'm hungry.
All right. I'm working. Well, stop interrupting me and I can get it done. Yes. A complaint was made this week that I wanted to talk about. And so basically this Words for White People is a can of worms, right? It's a can of worms. And once you open it, you can't stop it. That's the whole point behind the saying, is once those worms get out, they're going to burrow and they're going to go and further and further and further. And we've all heard over the past couple of years about book bans and this ban and that ban, and we got to protect the children and we got to keep them away from vulgar materials like drag shows, or talk about, you know, homosexuality. We got to keep them away from it. And this has been going on since I was a teenager in the 90s. You know, that was the whole big thing back in the 90s. Oh, we can't just let people be openly gay. They're going to convert our kids. Now it's the drag queens that are going to convert our kids. It's the same argument with the same marginalized community. But they flipped the script on you, because in Davis County this week, Davis County, Utah, one of the most religiously strict states in the country. I would say the most religiously strict. Majority of counties are dry counties. Why? Because of the Mormon Church, because of the Church of Latter-day Saints. And they tried to ban books there that they thought were immoral. And then somebody popped up and said, hey, there's a lot of sex and rape and torture and murder in the Bible. And the school board agreed, and they banned the Bible in Davis County for elementary and middle schools in that county, in that district. So just remember, honkies, when you're out there trying to persecute others, when you're out there trying to put your opinions, your beliefs, and trying to push those on other people in a very fascist way, just remember, you're setting a precedent, and it's a slippery slope. And that same precedent can be used against you. So instead of fighting your neighbor, just learn to love your neighbor. As my father says, you don't have to love the sin to love the sinner. You can still love your neighbor, even if they're not doing what you think is right. Because if you start using weapons against them, those weapons can be taken away and used against you. So if you don't want the Bibles banned in schools, maybe start, you know, being a little more considerate and stop trying to ban and burn books like the Nazis.
Yo, the Bible should be banned in schools. I'm just saying.
Well said. Well said.
That's one of the books that
Thank you,
should be
Frank.
banned in schools. We don't want the Bible in schools. Separation of church
I
and
want
state. Teach your kid the Bible at home. Homeschool your kid or send them to private school if you want them to learn the Bible.
I want all books in schools. I want the Bible in schools. I want the Quran in schools. I want the Torah in schools. Because
those
guess
be the
what?
Worst books.
I have said this many times on this podcast. It is 2023. If your kid is reading anything, encourage them. If they are reading anything, encourage them.
You're like, if they read the Bible, let them keep reading.
I don't care if they're reading. I don't care if they're reading Mein Kampf. Maybe tell them like, hey, that's wrong or whatever. But if they're reading, God bless them. If they're reading anything,
maybe monitor their reading. Parents,
yes, exactly. Get them some Roald Dahl books or something good and healthy, But
Terry,
if they're reading, God bless them.
Do you have anything coming up? Have you gotten work there in Tennessee yet?
I don't have any work in Tennessee yet. We're still working on getting the life together. It was a lot more difficult this time than it has been in previous times moving to different state. But if you want to catch up on it, the book is Unclaimed Ashes. It is available on Amazon right now. Get your paperback, your hardcover, your Kindle, all of it still available. Get your copy while there's still plenty.
Support Terry Wayne, guys. Okay.
Support Terry Wayne. He wrote a goddamn book. Goddamn.
That's right. I am actually hosting here at 14 North in about 45 minutes. If you want to come out here, I doubt it because y'all probably aren't going to watch this till later. But and we know Jason Pellish ain't leaving.
No,
so
most of our views are later.
And then Thursday, I'm at Blue Steel Pizza, and that's in Fort Lauderdale. So that's what I've got coming up this week. And I guess that's it. Until next week. I'm sorry.
It was a great episode.
We did.
Great
I just got to pee and I got to eat.
Thank you, Franco.
Thank you guys for having me.
Bye, Franco.
Not Franco Romero, Franco Harris.
That's right. That's my government.
Franco.
All right, I'll see you around.
Go follow Franco.